Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay. This time a ZVZ with Jacob in the top left corner, and in your top right you have Craigus playing the red Zerg. We are on Condemned Ridge. I know Craigus is in Platinum and Jacob is in Gold, so it looks like this is one of those maps that, the ladder throws in just to see if Jacob's ready to move up to Platinum and make sure that Craigus is good in Platinum. Oh my, Jacob, that is just rude. That is rude. Anyway, Condemned Ridge, pretty well known map on the ladder pool. You've got a medium ramp come down to the natural, a much larger ramp leading down into the common ground, a short pathway over to the third. It's actually a really nice third. You've got a bit of a high ground overlooking the third, but there's only one pathway into it, so there's only one area to defend, and most of the defenses that you place defending the third also work for defending the natural. So it's a bit more of a macro sized map. It's difficult to get a fourth as they're super exposed, but most fourths are. It's just the way the cookie crumbles, really. Both players playing Zerg, so I expect to see a lot of early back and forth between the two, despite the long rush distance that separates the two bases. You can see that neither player has grabbed that early gas, and it looks like Craigus is moving out his first drone to throw down that early hatchery. Going hatch first on a large map, always a good idea. Get that economic edge, as long as it doesn't backfire and you lose everything. So that early expand goes down. We can see that Jacob's also floating a lot of money. He could definitely afford to throw down a hatchery. Maybe he'll go early spawning pool, but there goes the drone. He too is going to throw down a hatchery. Both hatcheries are going to finish up at pretty much the same time. It looks like Jacob decided to get out. No, he's behind on drones too. That's just because he's got almost 200 minerals. He's probably going to throw down a spawning pool in short order also. Get some aggression out. See that Craigus has already thrown down his, so he's ahead in tech as well as drone count. So actually, they're even, 16 to 16. Jacob has succeeded in getting a single probe or drone over to the hatchery being built, so he knows that his opponent is also early expanding. So any aggression that's coming out of Craigus will be slightly delayed. Both players grabbing a gas early. It'll be interesting to see what, if any, tech path they decide to go down early on. If early roaches, early banelings, early tech for the zerglings. I personally enjoy some roach play, but that's just because of my play style. Kind of easy and macro based. I love this out of Craigus. He's got two queens being built, one at each hatchery at the exact same time, waiting until the hatchery was done, even though the spawning pool was done a little bit earlier, to get both queens out. That way the larva injects line up really nice, and it just favors that macro play. It's hard to keep those larva injects on base, and both players are making sure that the queens pop out so that their energies match, and both larva injects can be done at the same time. Both players only mining off of the one extractor. Looks like Craigus is now at 100, so he could afford to grab that speed, but he's not, so maybe we'll see some higher tech. Roach Warren and Baneling nests coming down. Baneling for the Jacob and Roach Warren for Craigus. It's hard to say which one's more effective. It's difficult to stop a Baneling run by in this match just because the creep barely reaches over to the ramp. You can get an Evo chamber, make it so they have to take a long pathway around, but even that can't really prevent the Banelings from doing damage, especially in the Zerg versus Zerg. And then you have the Zergling speed, which makes it so that run-bys are even more dangerous. So Baneling's always a great option, especially if you can get one or two into the drone line. Roaches, though, in my opinion, are more cost effective. You lose less of them in engagements, and if you micro correctly, you can keep them alive for much longer and do more damage. Banelings, for me, I always come out just a little bit more behind than I thought I would be, just because you lose a Baneling despite it doing damage. So unless you get those perfect hits off, you lose minerals. You can see an Evo chamber coming down. This is not a tight wall off. You'll need another queen right here, maybe a queen here, to block off that ramp entirely. But a spine crawler coming down for both players. One in the natural, up in the main for Jacob, and then only one for Craigus down in the natural. just to buy a little bit time. Both players feeling kind of timid. Usually ZVZs take a much more aggressive early on stance, but both players seem to be playing for the late game. Zergling speed finishing up for Kraigus. It is not started for Jacob, so it appears he's going to be trying for a Baneling play. It's interesting not to see the Zergling speed for Jacob, just because that can be so effective with the Banelings. The Zerglings can wrap around the main force and hold them in position while the Banelings crash into the front. Plenty of roaches coming out for Kraigus, and with the second spine crawler, he's going to have no problem dealing with this small aggression from Jacob. However, the Baneling nest is up, so if these morph into Banelings, and there they go, perfect timing, they have a good chance of doing a lot of damage. But with this many roaches, if they move out and catch these guys as they're morphing, that'll be the end of them. And then the other chances, the roaches can try to take the damage. Their armor, they take significantly less damage from the Banelings than the drones would. It takes 4 or 5 Banelings to take down a roach. So here they come. They're on the creep. They're moving much faster, but several of them go down. The roaches get in the way. Jacob has no choice but to detonate on them. All of them detonate, taking down a large number of roaches. But yeah, neither player came out ahead there. It's 900 to 900 resources. But the most important thing about that is the Zerglings that Kraigus, that Jacob lost, did not destroy any drones. You can see that Kraigus is actually significantly behind on the harvester count. It doesn't look like neither of the bases are fully saturated. Usually you want to see 3 lines completely of drones. Here we only see 16. Usually you want around 24. On the other hand, Jacob is almost oversaturated in his main, and with a much better saturation down in his natural, so his mineral income is significantly better, and you can see that in the large amount of spine crawlers which are coming out. Spine crawlers, of course, doing extra damage against the armored roaches. Zergling run by, that Zergling speed showing the edge they give them, and the sheer amount of roaches present allow Kraigus just to move up into the main away from all those spine crawlers, doing some significant damage, allowing the drones to slip by. We can see that he's hardly lost any. However, he's going to take down the queen and the spine crawler, and that leaves this entire main bare. That spawning pool is going to go down. A spire is being built, but that's going to be exposed also. And then maybe they'll come up and deal some damage to the drones, or maybe the Baneling nest right there. Choosing to focus down the spire instead of the spine crawler, which is burrowing right now, which is a peculiar choice, but that spire is going to go down, which is very, very good for Kraigus. You can see he's getting the level 1 range. I hope we see some Hydras on the play, because the spire, well, that spire never really succeeded in going down, but the 4 mutas are being built whenever the spire was up for like 3 seconds. If Kraigus decides to get another spire with the level 1 range on the way for Kraigus, then Hydralisks are an excellent addition to the unit composition that Jacob is beginning to, Kraigus is beginning to field. Jacob with his 4 mutas are able to clean up the roaches before they take down the lair completely, but we can see multiple roaches are still on the way. Saturation for Kraigus, 27, 33, still significantly less than it needs to be, but he is getting a lot of spore crawlers up right now. I expect to see 1 more spore crawler thrown down at each base just to prevent some mutas attacking up here, or maybe over by the extractors. Is this? Yeah, that's a spore crawler too, so that's good. But 1 more to protect the extractors down here wouldn't be uncalled for. But finally, Kraigus is getting a better saturation on his mineral line, especially after he did so much damage up here. Kraigus is probably feeling in a pretty good position right now and wants to capitalize on that. Jacob grabbing another spire, this time in the natural, which is a great call. Splitting up the tech is always something that I heartily encourage both players to do. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, especially Zerg have a tendency of losing tech structures to a run by or some harassment, and that just absolutely devastates them. Kraigus attacking once again, a large force pushing into the mineral line, making it up to the spawning pool. Unfortunately, those spine crawlers are really doing a number on the roaches. They took a terrible path to get in there, again pushing up into the main, taking down the 2 spine crawlers that were built there, and finally doing some damage to the economy, taking down a lot of roaches. All of those will fall. So about 63 to 48, mid 40s for Jacob now. Finally even things up with Kraigus, and again, he's not mining from this main at all. The mutas are going to take down all those roaches eventually, but this time I think the lair is going to go down, which is a terrible blow. Expect to see that natural morph into a lair any second now, just because you need that lair tech. Fortunately for oh no, that's Kraigus's. He's got the infester pit coming down too, so Kraigus really is capitalizing on the fact that he hasn't had to deal with any harass. That muta, the spire build that Jacob is going right now, really relies on the ability of the player to do a lot of harassment and keep the opponent contained in his base, keep him from pushing at the front door a lot. And unfortunately, Kraigus was just one step ahead of Jacob on that count, and he's taken a third. He's kept his drone count up. With that third, I expect to see a huge swell right there. Just a lot of drones, and once those drones kick into gear, we can see the economy just go into overdrive. Unfortunately, Jacob is still rebuilding all the stuff that he lost. He's getting the hatchery, he's getting a macro hatch up there. The spire and spawning pool are down in the natural right now, but with only 6 mutas on the way, the static defenses are already up. Kraigus knows exactly what's going on inside the base because he's done so many attacks, and he's got some infestors up. It's interesting not to see the pathogen glands being researched. It's a pretty cheap upgrade compared to what it gives you, which is basically a fungal growth right off the bat. And fungal growths are going to be the best tool that you can use against these mutas. They love to bundle up and just suffer so much damage from that AoE. You can see that Jacob has chosen not to resaturate his main, even though he's oversaturated in the natural. He is grabbing a third though, and he has the probes rallied up into the main, so he's probably going to work on getting that resaturated. But until then, Kraigus is mining twice as many minerals as Jacob. Level 1 range is finished. We've got level 1 armor coming out for Kraigus. Air attack is being upgraded for Jacob. Hopefully Jacob can use this momentary respite from Kraigus's constant aggression to do some economic damage. He's got a bunch of mutas out. I expect to see him do some harassment. That is quite a lot of mutas. Look at that. 18. 18 mutas should be able to one-shot Spire, if not two-shot it. And if you only take this one out, then you can swing back and take out both extractors and a lot of drones. Deny a lot of droning there. We do see one more spore crawler protecting those extractors, so good placement on Kraigus's part. It's definitely going to cost him to take it out, but I believe it'll be effective, especially if you can deny some aggression out of Kraigus. Keep him contained, keep his infestors waddling around to all 3 of his bases. The more bases that Kraigus takes, the more exposed he's going to be. Glial reconstitution, roach speed coming out. Very helpful for Kraigus because the mobility of his army is going to be tested as these mutas arrive down here in the 3rd. You can see there is no spore crawler in position except for this guy. Not really going to be able to deny muta aggression on the extractors. Same up here, just take down the 1 spore and you can deny a lot of gas, which is quickly going to become the main limited resource for Kraigus. Muta's taking down the spore. Looks like it's kiting and kind of pulling the queen farther and farther away from the spore crawler so that they can take it down, which would be it's a pretty good hit. Queen does go down, but a couple of mutas are lost also. You can see that Kraigus is a little bit behind on the resources lost, but he can afford to do that because he got his 3rd up faster than Jacob did. However, Jacob has reproduced the drones that he needs. Unfortunately, again, he's got his 3rd way oversaturated, his 2nd oversaturated, his 1st. His main is not oversaturated, it's barely saturated at all. Despite all that, he's still mining more minerals than Kraigus because Kraigus is undersaturated pretty much everywhere. Again, missing about 8 drones per expansion. So I would expect to see that count up to almost 60. However, Krigus does not care. He's going to 1A into this third. He's got an awful lot of roaches, and those roaches are so tough. Even though these mutas are raining down upon them pretty much untouched, they're not doing enough damage to stop the aggression. A beautiful fungal growth goes down on top of that ball of mutas. Another one and a couple of infestors are going to finish up this cluster, and we can see that the almost 30 mutas that Jacob was fielding is down to almost 7. All those infested Terran are going to finish up the mutas, and then this third is going to fall completely. These roaches are in an excellent situation right now. They can afford to either push up into the third or sit back, re-macro, rebuild that army. There are a couple of spine crawlers up here, but with the support from the burrowed infestors, I expect that these spine crawlers can fall. Faltering a little bit, Craigus decides to pull back. We can see the supply 60 over 130. Even if this battle goes pretty poorly, and it doesn't look like it is, I think Craigus has this one in the bag. With the production pad, he's just switching over to an airplay himself. He's probably thinking about Broodlords at this point because he's got those 3 bases out. Jacob, though, has had enough pulling back. I feel like maybe a saturation here for Jacob would have been called for, transferring some of those drones. He just had too many. And Krigus had too little. I think you need, 16, 24? 24 drones to mine successfully off of all the mineral patches, because you need 3 per patch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I am bad. I fail at math. 6, 7. Oh, so 7 and 21. So you need 21 drones. So that's basically three lines down here, which is how I check. I just kind of hotkey. I cycle over all the mineral patches and then see how many drones I got there. One way or another, even despite Krigus' mining habits, he destroyed Jacob. You know, Jacob's in gold. I expected Krigus to take it, but I really like the roach infestor play because it's very cost effective. Muta play is phenomenal if you can pull it off, but I don't think Jacob pulled it off because of the early aggression from Krigus. Thanks for posting this. I'm assuming it was Krigus. If you guys have a comment for me, you could leave me a comment. If you have a game you want me to cast, you could message me. Either way, I'll see you guys later. Bye.